Hi, I'm Josh Cadillac, and welcome to my podcast, Know Your Shit. I've been blessed to see great success, as well as seeing the bottom up close and personal in 2008. And if there's one lesson I've learned is that if you want to have success and differentiate yourself from everyone else out there, you need to know your shit. As a successful real estate and crypto investor and an educator, it drives me insane that people do not immerse themselves in their craft. Everyone is so busy advertising and testing new sales techniques, they forget the most important thing, the product. Here I want to talk to the folks that got this right, the most successful people in the world in every industry. Bring them to you and find out what they learned in their business that made it great. When you're listening to my podcast, you will know for sure that the topics and experts we have on have one thing in common. They know their shit. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Know Your Shit podcast, where our knowledge and pride in what we do drives us to be excellent. My name is Josh Cadillac, and I'll be in the driver's seat today. We have an amazing show for you today. Right now with me, I have an amazing guest, Mr. Chris Abazis. Did I say that right?
Abazis, but you pronounced all the letters in there because sometimes people add letters, take letters out, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
There we go. I get as close as I can. I always make apologies in advance because I can never get anybody's names right.
Yeah, I got to get a cool last name like Cadillac.
You know what? It's the only one I got, so I'm glad people like it as much as they do.
And that's your real last name?
It is my real last name. Actually, my grandfather was forced to change his last name in World War II. Because he was doing a bunch of work for the government, and the FBI came in one day and they said, hey, look, because he had the nickname Cadillac. Mm-hmm. And the FBI came in one day and said, hey, you're Italian, your wife is German. That's 2/3 of who we're fighting in this war. And you got this nickname that everybody calls you by. We think it's an alias. Pick one or the other. So the FBI, because he was Italian, made him change his last name.
You know, that's a great story. That happens a lot. You know, I think my family changed the name too, but it was like Abazikopoulos. It was like a long ass Greek name. And then I think they just shortened it to be more Americanized, but no luck there. It's just ridiculous, I think.
All good, man. Got to get the job done. It seems like it's not hurting you any.
No, I'm okay. Yes, I'm okay.
You're skating by, right? You're making it happen.
Yep. Just by the skin of my teeth.
There you go.
I'm okay with it.
So, Chris, go ahead and tell everybody what it is you do, man.
So I am I'm a business coach and consultant and a speaker. My background, I also am a partner in a video production company. We do internet TV shows and marketing videos. So I do everything that has to do with talking, I guess. And my background is in real estate. I was a real estate salesperson. I was a rookie of the year. I said I'll sell real estate until I figure out what I want to be when I grow up. And fast forward, I think that was in 2001, I got into the business right around when 9/11 happened. And 2009, 2010, I left sales to get into leadership and launched a real estate company as a CEO at 30 years old. And I built that. I've recruited over 1,000 agents, helped develop and coach and train thousands of agents. And then 6 years into that and launching a couple other offices, I just wanted to focus on people development and coaching and speaking and training. And also I wanted to work with other people besides real estate people. I started to be able to help kind of our ancillary vendors and stuff. So I started Dream Key Consulting, do shit you love, this is the Know Your Shit podcast. But, I say, love what you do, because do shit you love is not always appropriate. So that's what I do. And I have a great time doing it. So it's kind of, I always say that I created a job. I created work for myself that I really enjoy doing. And I want the same for everybody. So that's my ultimate goal and passion with all the people I interact with.
Love it, man. Where do you think the success came for you?
That's a good question, because I kind of am a maverick. I've always done differently. We were talking offline about, real estate, how people are just chasing a paycheck, and people always used to tell me, Chris, you're so personable. You care about people. Everyone loves you. If you would just be a little bit more greedy, a little bit more shrewd. And I said, no, I think there's a way to do it that's not that. So it's the primary focus on the relationship. I've walked away from a lot of big paychecks to build relationships and nurture relationships, and just kind of really putting the positive stuff out there. And I said, there's got to be another way to do this. And I did. I figured out another way to do it. And I did things, I was selling real estate in New York and Queens. It's kind of a little bit of a wild, wild west. It's much nicer down here in Florida. Everyone treats each other nicer, but it's once I figured that out and just kind of about relationships and making other people, then I had a staff and looking out for my staff ahead of me and all the people that came in contact, just trying to make their lives a little bit better. And that's really what it was. And I would say it's almost like law of attraction, kind of by putting that out there. And also on the other side of that, being coached, because I have a tendency to get distracted and procrastinate, just like a few of us out there. So just constantly keeping a focus and moving forward, and at the same time trying to enjoy what I was doing at any given moment as much as possible. So I'm really experienced and fun, and passion is real important to me. So just kind of maintaining that and not letting go of it, which is easy to do in business.
Oh yeah, no, this business can very much get out of control. Well, I mean, I think when we're talking about the idea of just not chasing the paycheck, the idea that we're here to give customers a product that they come back for over and over and over again is an idea that is not present in our industry. The customer retention rate in our industry nationwide is 12%. Mm-hmm. Nearly 9 out of 10 times after seeing what you bring to the market, the customer would rather start from scratch and interview somebody else and go from scratch. That is A, pathetic, and huge. B, it is a huge indictment on our industry that we are just this bad at giving customers something they want to come back for, because the customer thinks on the way in the door that we're chasing the paycheck. Mm-hmm. And most agents have never been trained to do anything to relieve them of that thought process. And they've done nothing to take in the way they've handled things. Everything they have done is lined up in the customer's mind with them just prioritizing that paycheck over the customer. Mm-hmm. As long as you're doing that, why the hell should the customer give you any loyalty?
Yeah, it's like, it's like that expression, stepping over dollars to get to dimes. And I think it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because almost there's so many agents that are like, I remember in Queens, somebody said to me, "You're doing a virtual tour on a $100,000 co-op," and I'm like, "Yeah, I do professional video and all the stuff I do. It's just what I do." "Oh, why would you do that?" Well, if it's not worth it for me if it's not worth the income to provide the service I'm going to provide, I'm just not going to do it. I'd rather say no. And I think so many people, because the expectation is that you're chasing a paycheck and the service is minimal, real estate agents are kind of stepping into that. They're becoming that. They're becoming limited service. Let me do as least as I can. And I remember I had a client, she was one of the top agents in Queens. She has a brokerage now. And our first meeting, I said, and I don't know if you experience this, Jess, but the biggest opportunity a lot of agents have is, well, let's see your database. What about your past clients? Oh, they're always turning and burning new deals, generating new leads. And they get in that lead generation cipher. It's like, well, what about your past clients? The first thing I made her do was put a list together. She's like, I put together a list of like about 100 and something past clients. And I made her call. She's like, they don't want to hear from me. She was surprised. They were happy to hear from her. It's long conversations. And I think so many somebody else asked me, what's the biggest opportunity you see in the market today that for real estate agents? And I said, getting back to the people that you already had relationships with, seeds that you've already planted. So that's
I ask all the time, Chris, when was the last time you got a phone call from somebody you bought something from?
Yeah.
Anybody in the room? You want to take and show that customer they matter more to you than just a paycheck? Call them after you got what you wanted, because most real estate agents do real estate like Tinder. They go out with the customer, get what they want, and never call them the next morning. Yeah, that's it. It's one night stand real estate. And I think that it doesn't take a lot to show the customer that, hey, wait a second, I do things differently. In fact, what I train my agents to do actually is on the way in the door to recognize the position you hold in the customer's perception. They think you're lazy, not very smart, overpaid, and all about the commission. Yeah, that's what you're walking in. That's negotiation one. Before I go in there, what's the training teach us all the time, right, Chris? Ask questions.
That's right.
You walk in the door and you're supposed to ask open-ended questions, make them feel heard. Why the hell am I going to ask them a question that they're not going to tell me the truth to the answer to, because they don't trust me as far as they can throw me? Mm-hmm. You go to a used car salesman and he asks you how much money you have to spend on a car. You don't tell him the truth. So why should I ask questions? I have to show that I'm worthy of the truth. Agents aren't trained to do that. They're trained to go in there and make a buddy because of kind of what we talked about before, how this is a numbers game. Mm-hmm. Just go in there and get them to like you enough that you can get what you want. That's it. Get the transaction. I don't care about the transaction. I want every transaction they're ever going to do. And if anything I do is less than that, if I walk out of this, I get paid and I get less than that, that's called failure in my business, because my business is not about paychecks. It's about closed customers for life. That's all we do. We close customers for life. And that's exactly what it sounds like you're talking about here is this idea of we got to bring them something that they don't feel like they can easily replicate by kicking over a rock and talking one of the 10 agents that crawl out.
I have a new keynote, right? I'll be up there doing it in Rochester. It's the art of authenticity. And it's kind of about being real and transparent. And in the customer experience, once upon a time, it was products and then it was services. I think now it's a lot of focus on experience, and coming out of COVID, I think has to do with that. I mean, where we see a lot of rises of retail places like Amazon, right? The retail shops are going out of business more and more experiential places are opening up. So why are people choosing to work with the people they're working with? And experience is showing up more and more with regards to the modern consumer in particular. And yeah, people want ease of access. There's a lot of things that people want, but ultimately when you give them a great experience, and, agents, I feel like agents are always struggling, like, oh, I'm not going to do a buyer consultation. I'm not going to waste my time on all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, why would somebody want to sign with me as a buyer agent? If you give someone a great experience, it's super memorable, right? That's so important. I think the focus is on people are going in there and they're selling and telling and not asking questions, like you said, instead of finding out what's important to an experience about it and addressing the filters. That's one thing that we do in the NLP training, is talking about addressing the listening that people have to you. And like you said, Josh, if people are coming in and already they're thinking they just want a paycheck, I'm not going to be honest with them. Call it out there. Be honest with them. Be like, hey, I know what you think. I know what you think about agents. I'm probably just here for a paycheck and I'm chasing a deal. I'm going to put your mind at ease. I'm not that. I'll show you that. And by the way, I feel the same way about a lot of agents too. So I get what you're saying. Nobody addresses that. Like when I was a recruiter, I remember agents, you try to call to talk to agents and they're like, they always think you're trying to recruit them because of who you are. And it's like, well, you address that. Hey, I get the feeling I get the sense that you feel like I'm trying to recruit you. Is that what's going on here? Yeah. Well, that's not what this conversation is about. Now that we put that in the back seat, can we move forward? So addressing those filters. How do people hear you? How do they see you? What they see you through? What lens? What filter they hear you through? And address that up front and create a great experience for someone.
Well, I couldn't agree more, man. I mean, the idea of starting with what is the customer actually coming to us for? Most agents can't answer that. Most agents don't realize the thing that brings them to me is they identify they have a real estate problem that they can't solve themselves. Yep. And so when I ask agents, what's the number one question that people ask you when they find out you're in real estate? The number one question is, how's the market?
Right.
My simple solution is very controversial. Answer the question well. How's the market? Show them that you actually know what the hell's going on in the market. Yeah. It automatically does so much heavy lifting for you of taking away whether or not you're a market expert, whether or not they should be listening to Zillow, whether or not they need to ask you to cut your commission or whatever. Yeah. Like, actually have something to freaking say. I'll give you an easy one, man. I ask agents all the time now when I teach, because one of the classes I do is on inflation. I say, all right, inflation, good or bad for real estate? Silence. I'm like, now, wait a second. You're trying to get customers to participate in the real estate market, and you don't even know whether the major economic factor that's going on today, whether or not it's good or bad for the product that you sell. You guys, in a room full of real estate market experts, is that at all acceptable that no one here has an answer to that question?
Crazy.
Or they answer the question with a question mark at the end.
Why do you ask? It's always a good time to sell real estate. That's stuff
exactly
back in the 80s, right? I know it is a little silly, and that's one of it's funny because with new agents that have that imposter syndrome, that feel like they don't have anything to contribute. That's one of the things we say. It's like, get to know the market, but not just being able to recite facts and data and numbers. What does it mean? And when somebody asks you how's the market, well, we can talk about the market, but it's going to be different for some people, right? So the person that's losing their house, that's over leveraged, that's losing their house in a short sale, it's not as great for them as it is for the buyer that might be getting a deal on a house. So what does it mean? Oh, and then, being able to discuss, I have in some of our group coaching, there's arguments with agents talking about, oh, it's so hard now that the interest rates are high. And I'm like, well, is it hard? Are the interest rates really high? When I got into the business, the interest rates were 7% and they were super low. So it's what does it mean for somebody? Kind of peeling back that onion, getting down to the meaning, what it means for the individual. What opportunities exist, So it's just that you're right. And it's lack of training. And with the rise, we're talking about this too, with the rise of the independent agent, with the virtual company, that's kind of like, hey, you're on your own, right? They don't understand that there's things out there that they don't know what they don't know. And
Sure.
I think it's because now the responsibility is on them to go out and learn these things, overcome these things. And it's just a lack of education.
It is. And I mean, it's the brokerage model for a long time. I mean, the virtual agent that you're talking about, the truly independent agent that you're talking about is just one step further down this continuum that we've been on in real estate for the last 30, 40 years as the brokerage went to smaller installers, commission splits, and therefore had less and less available for training. I mean, what do they do annually? They spring for a lunch and learn from a decent trainer. And then everything else is, oh, there's this online thing that we have. You can go look up stuff. And there's not really that thing. And I mean, as far as the imposter syndrome goes, this industry just begs for that to be the case, because what do they do? Here's your real estate license after you pass a test that has nothing to do at all
with the business, right? Yeah. It's like, don't do this stuff and you'll stay out of jail.
Yeah.
Here you go. This
is how you can avoid jail. All right. Here's your license, smack on the ass, go do real estate. And you're like, but how do I?
Yeah.
And so what happens? They all go take MLS training after that, because they got to figure out how to find the stuff. And then after they take the MLS training, they take the contract training because they got to figure out how to put the offer in. And then after that, this industry is a vast sandbox of go figure it out for yourself. What's the next thing you need to know? And that's for people like you and me that train these agents. We got to realize, as I tell them, look, you got to figure out what the customer is, what's their problem, and how do you, right? This is where they are. They are maybe well-intentioned, maybe, motivated, maybe all sorts of things, but nobody ever told me. And Chris, I'm going to tell you, man, I traced every real estate certification and designate. I got them all. I got I forget how many of them, right? I got alphabet soup. Three lines on the PowerPoint, right? Nobody ever told me I was in an entrepreneurial endeavor. Nobody ever said I was the CEO of the company. Nobody ever told me I was in charge. They told me go out and work. They told me the answer to every problem was more cold calls, more door knocks, more lead sourcing. Real estate's answer to every problem is go get more leads, do more advertising. That's all they say. And unfortunately, it's just a gigantic lie. It's just a gigantic lie. Yes, can you survive that way? Sure. But it just puts agents in a position where they're constantly chasing and never building an actual business, which makes them maybe successful as employees of their real estate company, but failures as CEOs trying to build a business because they're not building anything. And so, unfortunately, that's where agents find them. That's where I find most of my agents. That's where they're at. Maybe well-intentioned, maybe smart, maybe humble, maybe great people, but there's never been a direction given because we've lost it in real estate. Most of the training that I've taken, most everything just leaves you in this. I mean, for every one class that there's maybe anything kind of substantive, there's 50 on social media marketing.
Yeah.
There's 50 on lead sourcing. And so I think the big thing is we find our agents just, the best word I could find is adrift. Yeah. These folks are just hurting. They can't figure it out. I mean, there's a lot of bums out there too. Sure. But I mean, the ones that typically are showing up to my training, they're trying to do something about it. But what you typically get in those classes, a lot of times, and it sounds like you're fighting the good fight here too, trying to bring the substance, trying to bring the quality of getting agents out of that victim mindset of, oh, the interest rates are so high. Oh, the market has turned. As a CEO, you're not allowed to make excuses.
Yeah.
The buck stops with you. And I teach it all the time. And this is one that I've been using recently, which is they got to ask CEO question number one. What the hell are you going to do about it?
Sure.
Oh, this is what the problem is? Great. You've identified, you're halfway there. You know what the problem is.
Right.
CEO question number one. What the hell are you going to do about it?
What are my solutions? And make a decision and execute, right?
That's it.
Yeah, it's so funny because, it's people don't realize you're the CEO of you. And I love that. It's like, you're also the assistant. So you're also the employee. Staff. And so how would you rate yourself? If you're going to give yourself as a CEO an employee review, how would you rate yourself and what you're doing on your service? How can you be better? And I think people kind of run away from that. And, sometimes they don't want to face it. I mean, I meet agents that are scared to give testimonials and reviews. They're like, or even scared to show up at the closing table because they feel embarrassed that they're walking away with a closing check. And I'm like, you shouldn't be that way, man. You should be popping champagne. You should be getting video testimonials, just having a great time. And I like reverse engineering the results. So if you could design, if you were a fly on the wall, or somebody was giving your eulogy and they were saying how great you were, what are some of the things that you'd be saying? Now, how can you cause that to happen? What are the things you can do to create that experience for somebody? And that's why, I mean, for me, getting testimonials and reviews is not even to market myself. It warms my heart when I read them and I'm like, this is why I do what I do. And consider that in real estate sales, you're doing more than just selling houses, than selling homes. It's what's the result? Who are people becoming? How's their life becoming better as a result of having met you? And then who do you become as a result of having fulfilled your purpose and, helping somebody? And like you said, it's a problem it's people are buying two things: a solution to a challenge, like you mentioned, problem that you can help them with, or a good feeling. Are you giving them both of those things? And
Sure.
if you focus on that, I think you won't have to focus on the paycheck. It just comes in.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love what you said, because actually I talk about the eulogy a lot. I said, if we wanted to figure out how many if you gave me your goal for listings and I was coaching you, we'd immediately break that down to what you needed to do today in order to achieve that listing goal. So you want to run the right kind of business.
Right.
What do you want your eulogy to sound like? Because that eulogy, what do you want them saying about the person they're putting in the box? Hey, you know what, that Josh guy was this, this, and this, but you know what? He was a stand-up guy. If he ever said he was going to do something, like, what do you want those things to be? And how do I break that down to what I need to do today to earn that at the end, right? Because that's the only way that makes sense. I actually would take what you said, though, giving yourself a review as the CEO. I like to flip that on its head, too, because one of the things that we see in real estate is people are terrible bosses to themselves.
Yep.
I mean, their answer to everything is basically suck it up, buttercup, go, work to 26, 27 hours a day, and agents burn out. It's why we have this tremendously high burnout rate in this industry. I say to people, would you treat somebody that worked for you the way that you treat you? Because doing this well is not always just about working harder. It's about setting yourself up to be successful. And so most agents' answer is to just work harder rather than doing a step back, what a CEO would do.
Talk to more people, work harder, put more,
exactly.
Spend more money.
For me, it's make sure the systems are in place to make it easy for me to do what I need to do every single day. Sure. I got to make a whole bunch of phone calls. I need a system that's very good at taking, set that up and make sure I know exactly what I need to do. I need systems in place that empower the employee, the staff, the guy that's got to go execute, to make his job easier. Right. So when he comes home from work every day, he feels good about the job that he did, and he got done everything he needed to run a business that's consistent with what that eulogy needs to sound like, right? That's the only way that kind of makes sense. So I love the fact that completely separated, we come to that exact same place. Yep. It's very cool. What do you like best about what you do, Chris?
I like I like the variety. I like inspiring people, and it's just goes to doing what you love. I kind of make no distinction between, people talk about work-life balance, and I don't really make a distinction of work and life balance. I say, man, it should be like one kind of holistic thing, and you should love all of it. You should enjoy all of it. And like, indeed, the perfect business should fund the perfect life. And we need to have both, but too many people hate what they do. So I love when I can connect with people and help them connect them with something that they love doing and being able to monetize that, or being able to find the joy in what they're already doing. Because sometimes we lose that passion. And I work with most of my clients are solo entrepreneurs to start, or with a small team. That's kind of like, there's not a lot of people working with those, it's I work with larger companies too, but it's that solo entrepreneur. And whenever they come to me, they're usually frustrated and defeated. And, they've become that employee that they don't want to for themselves. And it's like, well, when you started this business, tell me about when you started the business, and they talk about it and they're super passionate and excited and why they started. And it's like, well, what happened to that? And it's a lack of systems, tools, or people typically. So I'm a leverage coach. And well, let's look at your systems, how you do things. Let's look at what tools, what you're doing it with. And then let's look at people. When you're doing all you can with systems and tools, do we need to add someone? Do we need to add an assistant? Do we need to add a salesperson? Do we need to subcontract and get a company to help us with these things so that we can get back to, number one, the things that we're enjoying in our business? It's like, if you could create a job for yourself within your business, what would you want to do every day? As a real estate agent, what's your favorite part of your job? I just want to go on listing appointments every day. Great. We get everything else off your plate and listing appointments just showed up on your calendar. Would that be a fun life? And by the way, if you did 10 listing appointments a week in 30 hours, would that be good? Yeah, great. Okay, well, that's impossible. No, it's not. It's not impossible. There's people doing it. Here's the process. But making sure that people just, that's my favorite thing though, connecting people with things that they love to do in their business, and ultimately will lead them to do things that they love in their life. That's my favorite thing.
Love it, man. It's good stuff. What do you think makes you good at this thing?
Because I'm really
besides the obvious incredible good looks. Yeah. Besides,
hey man, we smell our own.
There you go.
Because I really care. I'm genuinely and again, I said no to a lot of I had a really good setup and I kind of pulled the plug on that just because I wanted to less office politics, and I didn't want to run these companies. I had an office with 300 agents, a staff, and I was an investor in 2 other offices. So I had essentially all this stuff going on. I was doing really well there in my mid 30s. And I just wanted to be able to have a bigger impact on less people and be less distracted. So, and I'm genuinely committed and motivated by and passionate about helping people do that. And it required me to walk away from a lot of money and a lot of paychecks and just kind of build it. So, and being authentic about that. And that's just, I have an ability to connect with people easily and kind of help them figure things out for themselves. And it's kind of a natural ability. And also all the shit that I've been through, man, I mean, it's learned from my pain, right? So
yeah.
Like,
pain
hey man,
and suffering.
I've been there. I've had pain in hiring people. I've had pain with staff. I've had pain with leads. I've had financial pains, so it's like, I've been there, people are like, oh, I don't know when my next deal's coming in. I got to cut some lead generation expenses. I'm like, well, talk to me when you get a car repossessed. I've been there. Right. So talk to me when you find yourself being evicted. I've been there. And there's just having the combination of my experience and my training and education, in addition to my genuine desire to help people. I think that's what makes me good at it.
Good stuff, man. Let me change gears a little bit.
Sure.
I'm going to just toss this out there and answer it any way you want to. What do you see as the opportunity in the market today?
Right now, I think the biggest opportunity is for agents to take on that consultant role and really educate, starting with their nest egg, their database, on what's happening with the market, what opportunities exist in the market. And I think, we get the media that, with the high interest rates, and agents tell themselves this story. And I hear agents arguing about it like, nobody wants to sell because the interest rates are too high. Nobody wants to buy because the interest rates are too high. And it's like, are they really too high? Or let's educate ourselves on what this really means, what it looks like, what other opportunities exist. Right now, I buy investment properties. You know what? DSCR notes and DSCR loans they're at 8-9%. Does that mean I'm not going to buy properties? No, that doesn't mean it, because what matters to me is the numbers, the return. And by the way, because the market the way it is, I'm currently in contract on a condo in Fort Pierce. I'm doing 5% owner financing for 5 years, interest only. People are like, how'd you get that? I'm like, I asked. The agent didn't know about that. I had to educate that listing agent. Well, first of all, the buying agent knows about it because she's one of my clients. I like to buy stuff through my clients. And so she educated the listing agent on present it. And the owner said yes. They're like, and they were so surprised. So now that's the opportunity that exists for maybe somebody who wants to buy property, maybe even a seller. Because, too, in Florida, it's like that foreclosure process is easy. So listen, someone doesn't pay you sell the house, and they don't pay, you take repossession of it again. So, I think the biggest opportunity for agents is to learn think outside the box, learn some new strategies, learn what this stuff actually means to people, and stop looking at the interest rate. What's a buyer care about? Their payment. What's a seller care about? The money they put in their pocket. So, Mr. Seller, if you could get full price on your house by doing owner financing or by potentially buying down the rate, a seller is so fast to reduce. Oh, let's reduce the price $10,000, $20,000. If you're going to reduce the price by that much, all the buyer cares about is how much does it cost them per month. Why don't you take 1 point? Why don't you use some discount points, buy down the payment? So we just had Lennar Homes. I have a client. She just sent me a message this morning. She's like, I'm doing a double-ended deal. She's getting 5% from Lennar Homes, and Lennar bought down their rate 2%. These people are saving $1,500 a month, right? And they're paying a portion of the closing costs. But people don't know about that stuff. She was like so shocked. She's like, I'm going to sell more of these homes. Now she's marketing the homes. And, the builders, we can learn something from them because they're sitting on all that stuff. They have the ability to do that. So take these strategies, bring them to your community. And by the way, there might be people in your database as an agent that are not considering buying or selling a house right now. Well, why not? Do you have homeowners sitting on dormant equity? Man, I love loans. If I have a house that's worth $600,000 and I got $100,000 mortgage on it, that bothers me. I want to be totally leveraged. Oh, I can't wait till my house is paid off.
No.
If I'm going to give you money, a bank is going to give you money even at 8%, and you could buy something and then you could make 20% back. That sounds like 12% in your pocket. What's going on?
On somebody else's money. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the biggest opportunity, right? For agents to learn this stuff, then to bring that to their community, do events, have trainings, bring your mortgage people in, your attorneys, your accountants, put together events. Get the education out there.
Chris, I'm going to toss this out there just because I love what you're saying. And then, so this is actually the chart the course I chart for agents after the sandbox, after you've taken the MLS and the contract, and now where do you go? I say, you got to know valuation. You got to be able to figure out what properties are worth. If you don't know what stuff is worth, how the hell do you make the case that you're an expert?
Well, you can always look at the Zestimate, right, Josh?
Exactly. You can get zesty with it. The second thing, you got to know negotiation, and not just the touchy-feely negotiation that they love to teach in real estate. That drives me nuts. Yeah, almost all the negotiation classes I teach are, let's hold hands and sing songs and get along negotiation. That's wonderful as long as the other side wants to hold hands, sing songs, and get along. Yeah. As soon as they come back to me and they want to mess with me, I got to be able to protect my customer. I got to know competitive negotiating tactics. Yeah. I don't know what it is with real estate. They just do not teach it in any of the mainstream real estate classes. I don't get it.
Is that one of your big classes right now, negotiation?
Oh, man. Yeah. I actually just the most recent one that I did was body language and negotiation.
Oh, nice.
Which is, well, it too, Chris. You've been doing this long enough. Like when you first start out, you walk in the room and you're making sure you got all your papers, your head is down, right? But as you've been doing it a while, you walk in the room and your head is up and you're reading the whole room. All right. Like, who matters in here? Who wears the pants? Who do I care about? Yeah. Right. You're sussing it out. That's not the case. That's not how we're taught to do real estate. It's this very touchy-feely, and unfortunately, it just doesn't prepare you well for the kind of customer I want is a smart customer. They're going to push back. Yeah. I want to make sure that they push back. I push back in such a way that I not only survive the objection, I earn points for my team on how I handled that objection. That's right. And so there's 3 categories of things I think that you need. This is what I teach agents. To close customers for life, you need rapport. Mm-hmm. I want them to like me, but that's the only thing they teach in real estate class. And of the 3, it's the least important. I want them to like me, but that's secondary. I don't want their business because they like me. It's the worst reason in the world for a customer to give me business is because they like me. That means I've emotionally manipulated them into giving me business. I don't want that. The second one is the place where agents start dropping the ball, credibility. I want them to know that I know my stuff cold. And the way I do that is simple. I don't brag. I don't come in with their 5,000-page listing book. I just take and talk to them about the stinking market, where it is today, what that means for them, and where the opportunities are. That's it. Guys, I don't care if you're buyer, seller, whatever, those are the things. And the last one, trust. If they know that they matter to me more than that commission check, I give them those 3 things. Guess what? When anybody else comes around them and says, hey, thinking about selling you going to sell some real estate? I got a guy. You got to call my guy. I got to get you Josh's number, right? That's what I want. That's the goal, right? So I need those 3 things. And so if I recognize that on the way into that negotiation, that's what I'm shooting for. I need those 3 things. Well, everything I say then is going to be driven around those three things. Mm-hmm. And how do I earn points there? And then the third thing is kind of what you talked about. which is you got to understand the investment of real estate.
Mm-hmm.
You got to understand how borrowed money works. You have to understand where our product generates wealth, because I don't care who the customer is, first time, VA, whatever. Every customer that buys real estate is a real estate investor.
Mm-hmm.
And if you understand the real estate value, the investment value of that real estate you're selling, it's one more thing you could talk to that customer about. Even if they have no idea that they're an investor, you can educate them about that, and it only makes them want your product more. Gee, more motivated customers. That would be a hell of a burden.
Right.
You know? And so honestly, so valuation, I only have 1 4-hour on valuation. I have 3 on negotiation, 3 4-hour class, and 7 on the investment side of real estate, 28 hours of material on it, just because it's, and I'm not even close to done probably on the investment side, because there's just so much there, right? And so if agents don't take and educate themselves about, as you said, borrowing money, why would you borrow money? You know, you got I don't want to mention any names, Dave Ramsey's of the world out there saying debt is dumb.
Yeah.
And you don't realize the value that I would never buy real estate without debt if I could help it. I mean, just the depreciation benefits alone of expanding your position in real estate. You get to take depreciation on 100% of the improvement value of that real estate, regardless of how much of your cash is in there. You get to participate in 100% of the appreciation of that asset, regardless of how much or how little of your money is in there. The rents go up. I get 100% of the benefit of the rents going up. That mortgage payment doesn't change. I mean, there's just so many. I have a whole class that we talk about that, right? Because there's just so much there. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I wish it was something that was talked about more mainstream, because, you know, it almost feels, I don't know if you feel this way too sometimes, but when you're training, it almost seems like you're the voice in the wilderness. Like everybody else is talking about, what to do on TikTok.
Yeah. And, yeah. Social media, you know, it's, I know. And it's, if we stop focusing on what to do at TikTok, and then we actually start working on some substance, then if you wanted to put something valuable out there, then you might put something valuable out there on TikTok. Right. So it's that's what it is. It's, you know, and people always talk to me about, content creation. How do I come up with content for social media? It's so important. I got to be out there. It's like, well, there's an endless supply of information you can share with people. First, identify, what are you good at? Who are you?
Yeah.
What do you want to share with your community? And you know, like for me, I know my content comes from the things that I deal with my clients, my emails, and then, you know, like I'm gonna be like, hey, I just sent out an email. Today that was scheduled because a question came to me last week. You know, I get the question a lot. It's like, man, how do you have so much fun? Because I'm always, you know, like I'll be out on boats. I go to shows, and the reality of it is that I don't like to have more than 10, 15 hours worth of scheduled time a week. And that's just how I like to do it. Do I work more than that? Yeah. And things pop up, but that's the way that I like to do it. And I designed it that way. And how am I able to do what I'm able to do and have the fun I'm able to have without having building this big mega business and being stressed out all the time, like the other CEOs that you see out there.
Yep.
And so that was that question that I got. And I said, well, I sent out an email, you know, sharing just one of the tools that I use for myself with regards to time management, because I think time management is a big thing that people have, and people spend so much time on Canva trying to create the perfect carousel, or you know make a dumb video that they saw somebody else do that nobody cares about. And by the way, I always ask this question, Josh, like, well, because people are always like, I get people reach out to me, oh, you've got good stuff. Well, let me help you grow your Instagram following. I don't care. And I ask my agents, stop going for likes and follows, go for engagement and add value, right? So instead of putting something out there that's going to get you likes and follows, these vanity metrics, what about engaging somebody, putting something thought-provoking out there that's engaging somebody with a question? Maybe you put something out there like we're talking about leveraging debt, investing in real estate, it makes someone think in a different direction. They're like, wait a second, let me reach out. You know what? Josh posted something about that. You know, hey, Josh, I see you've been posting stuff like this. They send you a private message. That's where the magic happens. And I think everybody's kind of got it all backwards. It's definitely a world on its head, you know? So
I hear you. You know, when I was writing the most recent book, I broke it down this way. I said, there's 2 jobs in real estate. 1, know what the hell you're doing. Then 2, market yourself as someone that knows what the hell they're doing. In real estate, we get that backwards. We focus on marketing ourselves as someone that knows what the hell that we're doing, but we never bother to be somebody that actually learns what the hell they're doing. And so everything is the vanity, everything is repeating something they heard someplace else, but not really being able to unpack that thing. And let's be honest, the thing that brings the customer to us in real estate is that they identify they have a real estate problem. Mm-hmm. My job on the way in is to show them, you got a real estate problem? That's fantastic. All I do is have real estate solutions. That's all I do. All I do is solve real estate problems all day long. So you found the right guy. And so as simple as that sounds, it starts with knowing what the hell you're doing.
Sure.
And that's the part that most agents, and Chris, I give them a little bit of a pass because it's really hard to find a place out there where you could go where they say, hey, look, this is the stuff you need to know. This is what you need to be paying attention to. You ask agents what they should be looking at for in the news. They have no idea. Yep. They have no idea. Hey, look, I care about wages. Why? Because every time wages go up, real estate prices always have to go up. It's happened every single time wages. So I'm watching wages, inflation. I care about inflation. Yep. You know, like, what are the basic things I need to be looking at to tell my customer the answer to the question that you and I both know they have? They always want to make sure that they're doing the right thing at the right time. Mm-hmm. How do I make them feel good that this is, or make them feel good to listen to me when I'm saying, don't do it right now. Do not buy that short-term rental property today. I don't want you looking at those till after the end of the year. Why? Well, because of things that are coming our way in the next few months. I think it's going to be pretty messy for short-term rental. I'd rather wait and see how those net operating incomes are looking by the end of the year. I think they're going to go down. I think they're going to go down quite a bit. I think it's going to be a bloodbath for a lot of commercial and short-term rental. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I have good reasons, and I give them my reasons why, right? If you're the agent that tells them, no, don't do it right now, well, guess what happens? 7 years later, when they need an agent, guess who's the only person they're calling?
That's right.
Because you're the only one that they feel like tells them the truth. Mm-hmm. And
it's like, if you were, were you in a short-term, were you in the short sale business like a couple of years back when everything was happening in Florida? Were you doing like 2008?
I made my bones in that business. I was carrying 70, 80 active listings myself all the time.
Me too. It's like, you have to be very careful. You know, there were so many agents out there pushing short sale. And I always told people you had to be, and I told my agents, like, just, you got to be very careful not to push short sale. And it's like one of those things when somebody's in a crisis and you're solving a problem. How many houses did you walk into where short sale was the best option? But some of them, when you ask the seller a question, if there's a way for you to stay in the house, work things out with the bank and make the payments manageable, would you want to pursue that? And they're like, yes, I'd love to do that. Well, let me help you do that. And, you know, and I mean, I helped countless people modify their loans, improve the relationship with the banks, stay in their houses. And my business exploded. My business exploded in those years just because, and it wasn't always a paycheck. And I didn't charge people to do loan modifications. I said, look, you don't got to pay someone to do it. Let's go to your bank website, print the stuff out. I'll show you how to do it. I'll coach you through it. And people appreciated that so much. They appreciated not pushing the short sale, right? So and that's that stepping over dollars to get to dimes. Sometimes we're like, oh yeah, well, if I help them do a loan modification, I don't make any money. Well, but what's that long-term look like? You have a fan for life. You have endless referrals coming in, and they would not let anybody else use another agent. They say, you got to use this guy because they help me like that. So
that's building a business. That's being a CEO.
And you were in that back then.
Getting it straight. What are you in this business to do? To chase paychecks like an employee, or to build a business? And I mean, I'll give you one that I do all the time, because one of my policies is this. I actually try to give the customer all the options that don't make me money first before I go over the option that does make me money. So customer calls you up right now. I had this happen to me not too long ago. They had an investment property I sold them years ago. Their mom is sick. They needed money. First thing out of my mouth was, have you thought about refining the property and pulling some cash out? I'd hate to see you lose the property. It's such a good money maker, you know? Yeah. How much money do I make if they refi? Nothing. But there's a reason why they're calling me back 6, 7 years after they bought that property with me. Now, I've obviously stayed in touch with them this whole time as well. But at the end of the day, they know that I'm going to be looking out for them, that I'm not about the paycheck. I always try to go over the options that don't make me money first. And then if none of those make sense, we end up at the option that does make me money, because I want them thinking that I'm thinking along with them like it was my own situation. Yeah. I treat them like their family. That's right. And they do the same with me. So what do you think are the most important things you've learned in the process of doing what you do?
I mean, I didn't really, when I was in real estate sales, before stepping into leadership, I did not realize how much it was not looked at as a business until I crossed over into leadership. And through running a real estate brokerage, hiring staff, putting systems, tools, and people in place, and going through all that leadership training and that organizational training and things like that. That was the most important thing I learned. And then I was so eager to bring it back to the agent community, the individual agent community, the ones that had teams that were doing it all wrong. There was just such a lack of this business understanding. That was a biggest pivotal thing for me. And then once people have a business that's running really well, they can focus on giving the customer that great experience. They can focus on, bringing it back to who they are, what they're contributing, right? So we're not just functional, we're people. So what does one realtor have different? What makes us different? What makes anybody different? And it's learning, going through this and working with so many agents over the years. I'm super excited to find out new things and meet new people. And I mean, I learn more things from my clients around the country than I do from any class I sit in. And it's just kind of hearing really innovative and meeting innovative people and finding out the individuals that exist in the industry and what that means and how they bring something different to the table. That's really fun for me.
I love it. All right. 2-part question.
Sure.
What are you most proud of in business and in life that you've accomplished?
Oh man. I think it's going back to that balance or that counterbalance, or just kind of not even having the balance, just kind of being able to mesh everything together and being able to say yes to all the things that I want to say yes to and no to the things that I need to say no to. That's all encompassing. That's business and in life. And really just kind of taking charge of being able to design that. And if it's to be, it's up to me. That sounds cheesy, but there's kind of just eliminating victim thinking out of my life, and just, being proactive about just like living and playing full on constantly at a level 10. And that might mean something differently for me than it means for someone else.
Sure.
So that, and that's okay. And I'll be kind of, not comparing my insides to someone else's outsides, not allowing society and other people to design my life for me, or design my business for me. People will should on you a lot, right? It's like, I'm like, hey, don't let people should on you. Oh, well, you should do this. You should do that. Start when we're young. Oh, well, you should get good grades in school and you should go to college. And by the way, you should go to this college. You should look for a job that has this and has good benefits. You know what I mean? It's like people like, I don't have health insurance. People are like, why don't you have health insurance? I'm like, because I don't get sick. What if you do get sick? I pay for it. Just like when I want to buy a cheeseburger, I do the same thing. Like if something happens, that's just me. And that's not for everybody. But,
it's not, but yeah.
I mean, that is not for everybody. I get it. Oh, well, what if you get cancer? I'm like, then I'll be living with cancer, I guess. But, we'll sort that out when I get there. I said, I'm just okay with all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when I moved down here from New York. I was on a speaking tour and I was down here on a break. 3 days into my trip here visiting family, they floored all the flights, right? March 2020. Yeah. So I was stuck in Martin County, which is not a bad place to be during the quarantine, because coming from New York City, everyone was locked themselves in their closets over there. They were in hazmat suits. I was at Guanabana seeing live bands and stuff. And like, I love people on Instagram are like, people are dying. Aren't you worried you're going to die? And I'm like, no. But I think that people that are scared about dying should definitely not go outside, so that's why I just, and that's me designing my life, not allowing people to should on me what I should do, what I shouldn't do. And that's what I'm most proud of, is just being able to have such clarity on that. Because if you don't have clarity on that, it's so easy for someone to get into your ear, your broker, your spouse, your boss, your kids, the news, whatever. It's so easy. We're talking even that social media stuff. I got to be better at social media. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you got to be better at social media? My buddy Brett, I was telling you about before, he posts things on Facebook. He gets a lot of traction and stuff like that. And I was talking about social media one time. I said, hey, Brett, give me a quote. I'm going to use you on a slide in the class I'm teaching about social media. Give me a quote about, and he's like, I've never gotten business from social media, but selfies are fun. Right. And so that was his quote. And I'm like, and then we talked about it that, there's, people are doing these things because somebody told them that they should do it. Right. And I know a lot of people that are not closing deals that are they're getting a lot of likes and follows because they're living based on what they heard or what they think they should be doing. So design your own world. That's what I'm most proud of, for me, for sure.
Love it. And it sounds like that's going to tie in with the next question I had for you, which is what one piece of advice would you give our listeners?
Yeah, that's the same thing, man. Just live with passion and just make sure that you're kind of living your passion and your truth and not someone else's. And if that means that you never want to get married, if that means you never want to have kids, that might mean you never want to be a homeowner. That might mean you don't want to have a 9-to-5. You don't care about any of that stuff. Just do what you want to do. If you want to live in a hammock and bartend at a tiki hut on an island somewhere, then you should go and do that, right? And as long as you love it, as long as it's you're not worried about what other people think you should or should do. I think that's the most important thing, man. I mean, I'm an early riser, as I'm sure you are. And man, I like to see the sunrise every day. I like to walk barefoot on the ground. I like to start my day like that, man, with just tremendous gratitude. So sure. I live with so much gratitude, and passion is a really close second to that. And I think that would be my advice for everybody, is just look for what find the gratitude and the passion in everything.
I say something similar, which I tell people to get out of the passenger seat of their own life and get in the driver's seat.
I love that.
Because most people live their lives as victims, which puts you squarely in the passenger seat of your own life.
It does.
This is where I am. How did I get here? Oh, I hope it gets better.
My life just happened to me.
Yeah. Life happens to them, as opposed to, hey, look, my life is skidding out of control. Let me get behind the wheel and try to steer into the skid and see if I can get some, let's have some positive feedback rather than let's hope we don't fall off the end of the cliff.
Yeah.
And so, no, man, I've been talking a lot more about big victimhood being, big pharma, big agro, big, all these things. Big victimhood is the biggest player in people's misery today, in my mind, is that it is just so easy in today's culture to turn yourself into a victim, and that relieving you of any responsibility for what goes on.
No accountability.
Take responsibility for everything, because the second you take responsibility, then you can take and do something about it. You can do something about your piece, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, easier question. What one book or movie would you recommend to people listening?
And if I had to pick one, well, so The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it was like a Bible for me on just kind of seeps into everything living. It's, that's really, if like one book that was kind of like, hey, here's how you can approach and live life. That's by Stephen Covey.
Mm-hmm.
That's one that I'm constantly referring to people, and on a parable end, I'm referring, The Go-Giver, The Dream Manager, a lot of those fun things, like easy reads and stuff. Yep. 7 Habits is a little bit heavier. And I think that's applicable for business and life. That's why I like to recommend it. And with regards to movies, that's a tough one. Because I was, The Big Lebowski.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
Yeah,
a couple of quick questions for you then to finish this off. What's next for you?
What's next for me? So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I'm a partner in a video production company. We've got stuff coming down the pipeline for that, where there's somebody that we know, they bought a whole bunch of failing networks, almost like a package deal of all these failing networks. And they've connected with us to see if we can help them kind of put these shows together. And one of the channels that they're going to have is going to be kind of like a personal development channel. And so I'm looking forward to getting involved with that and seeing where we can take that. And because out of that is, I'm really passionate about creating opportunities for other people. And I know a lot of other people, we've all had that receptionist that deserved to be an operations manager. We've met that Uber driver that had an idea for the next great app, right? Yep. So what's next for me is seeing what kind of through the people that I connect with, what kind of doors open for me that I'll then be able to connect with the people that I know and create opportunities for other people that I know. And that's really what's next for me. It's now kind of taking the focus to, I have a lot of clients that want to get into speaking and coaching. I have a lot of clients that want to develop products or services for people that are outside of what they do. I don't know if you're seeing that, like a lot of agents, you get a top agent and everybody wants something from them. Hey, show me how you do what you do. And you're like, I I just do what I do. So now I'm working with a lot of these top agents to kind of create, to be able to share what they do, to be able to share their knowledge and create systems and tools to be able to do that. So that's what's next for me, pretty much. Just
cool. Love it. Chris, what do you do to unwind, buddy?
Oh man, I mean, I love living here in paradise. It's I'm super passionate about food and travel and people. So I love comedy and movies and entertainment and music. So I do all that stuff. I mean, I'm equal parts couch potato, watching movies and Netflix, and equal parts kind of going out on boats into the beach and doing stuff
bouncing off the walls.
And, you know, and it's all things that I'm doing in between eating. So I'm the guy that wherever I travel, I'm like, what do I need to eat? What's the most
exactly
I need to eat here while I'm in Austin, Texas? You know, so,
love it, man. You and I could definitely have an entire conversation about.
Where are you, up in Orlando?
No, I'm in Southeast Florida. I'm right around Fort Lauderdale.
You're south. Yeah, you're south of me. Awesome. Yeah. So you're south. You're in Fort Lauderdale. So you're nice and close to the. Yeah, I'm about 45 minutes from that airport. Yeah. I have Vanilla Ice is my neighbor. I'm in a.
Oh, good times.
I just sold my condo in Jupiter, buying more in Fort Pierce. But that's good, man. You grew up there? Or?
I was originally a New Yorker, but
yeah, just like a few of us, right?
Just like that's a very unique model. Leave the People's Republic of New York and come down to Florida, right? It's. My father was one of the largest landowners in Brooklyn for years, and just couldn't take it anymore. Just you couldn't do anything with the property. You had to beg and plead and kiss butt and go to the mob and go to everybody to take and get anything done. It was miserable. Last question for you: where can people find you, Chris?
I have a Linktree website, chrisabazis.com, which I guess that's my name, and I can put the link for you here. But it's like that's just like a link tree. It has all my Sky Limitless Media, Dream Key Consulting, my social media stuff. So, just pop me into Google. But I'm pretty easy to find.
Fantastic, Chris. That was it, man. You survived. So thanks so much for your time, brother.
Having me on my stuff. Yeah. So we'll get together soon for sure.
All right. Sounds good. Everybody, thanks for joining us here on the Know Your Shit podcast, hanging out with Chris and I here, chatting about real estate and all good things. Guys, at the end of the day, I'm always going to leave you in the same place. You want to do this business well. You want to do any business well. You got to know your shit. Till next time, guys.